Simon Napier is in the studio with us today, and there's something that you're doing right now which is quite interesting about in Las Vegas.
The Las Vegas show. That's interesting. Yeah, well, I was sitting in a nightclub, a rock nightclub in Bangalore, drinking a lot of champagne at 3 a.m, as one does, about 3 years ago.
You do?
Well,
it seems
I was being fed. I was being fed it by the club.
You're a party person worldwide, by the look of it.
No, this is beyond the party. I'd sunk. Anyway, at some stage in the midst of this champagne haze, I suddenly thought what lovely songs I was listening, one after another, of the greatest rock classic tracks ever. So I tottered up to go and tell the DJ what good choice he made and how nice it was. And as I got up to go see the DJ, I found out it was a covers band. It wasn't a DJ at all.
Right.
And I had this brilliant light bulb idea. I thought, what we need is we need to put together the greatest rock band there ever was. Better than the Stones, better than any group you can think of. Get all the still living, still performing great rock musicians there are, put them together in one group and give them a set to play, which is the 35 greatest rock songs.
But they'll all be sort of roughly the same age as you, wouldn't they? They'll all be
10 years younger. They're all going to be 55 to 65.
Right.
And they're not too bad, as the Stones current tour shows you. You know, pretty good. It's a good age for playing rock.
I tell you what, I was only saying the other day at Glastonbury, I think Kenny Rogers and the Stones, they showed all the young groups exactly how to do it.
Well,
and how to perform, how to communicate.
Style knowledge has got. And the one thing about the Stones was amazing, although their music is really the most aggressive and powerful rock, well, it really shows you how to be laid back and how that produces better music than pushing too hard. You know.
So, what artists would you have in this amazing rock band?
Well, we have an incredible group. I mean, first of all, it's a 12-piece group. It's got 3 lead singers, which is utterly amazing because you've never seen a rock group with more than one lead singer, and only time you see it is at a charity gig when they sing together for one number. But these singers have had to come to terms with working together every night, and they come to love each other and sing beautifully. There are 33 songs. It's called Raiding the Rock Vault. It's at the LVH, the Las Vegas Hilton, which is where Elvis used to perform.
I stayed there the last time I was there.
It's the classic rock venue.
Just off the strip.
Just off the strip. It's been running 3 months. Last month it was voted #1 show in Vegas in TripAdvisor. The band's incredible. I mean, we've got, the lead guitarist, Tracy Guns. He's one of the top 10 rock guitarists ever. I mean, from Guns N' Roses. And Howard Meads from Deep Purple, and incredible. Everyone in there is from a top.
They must really be lapping it up as well.
To begin with, they fought a lot, because they'd never actually compromised their egos like this.
So that keeps you busy, and also books as well, because you're writing a book at the moment.
I'm writing a new book. Well, I've written 3 books. All have been really successful. The most successful was Black Vinyl White Powder, which was a history of the British music business from the end of the Second World War until now, which is pretty ambitious because, if you just take one singer or one artist, Keith Richard, when I got to writing about Keith Richard, I found there would be 38 biographies of him. So altogether, if you went through that whole period, Second World War to now, every musician, everything, you're probably looking at 10,000 books have been written, and I'm going to get the whole thing in 300 pages.
Wow.
So, but then when I'd finished it, and what gave me inspiration is I remember many, many, many years ago, I was at an airport and I saw a book by H.G. Wells called A History of the World, and it was 180 pages, and it was bloody good. And I thought, well, if H.G. Wells can do the history of the world, I can do this little bit. So I did it, and it was brilliant. I got extraordinary reviews, and I was really, really pleased with it and flattered by the attention it got. But then I began to think, I copped out. I should have done the whole music business, not British music business, not just for 40 years. And I had it in mind for 5 or 6 years. One day I should sit down and write the history.
And you've gone right back to
when
very
beginnings. The beginning of the music business was the beginning of copyright.
Yeah.
When the courts in 1713 decided that when a writer, whether it's a book or a song or anything else, wrote something, it was his property. And he could dispose of the property if he wanted. He created an industry. You wrote a song or a book, you could sell it. The person who bought it now could print it and make a profit and not pay anybody. And that was the beginning of the music business. So from then until now. And of course, it's not written in an academic style.
But the music business
is written much as I live my life.
The music business has changed so much, though, hasn't it? Over the years.
Well, or not at all, depending how you look at it. I mean, it mainly depends on hype, getting people to hear the song, payola, bribery, trickery.
Yes, but the way that you actually, like the artist or the writer, earns their money now has changed a lot since even just a few years back.
Things shift a little bit, but in the end, if you get up and play live, you get money, and that happened 200 years ago, it happens now. if you work with a publisher or a manager or a promoter, you'll probably get ripped off. That was the same 200 years ago as it is now. Not much has really changed.
But
and every time you hear a song anywhere, whether it's a cricket match or a football match, somebody is paying somebody else to play that song for you to hear.
Yeah. So, but don't you think the artists they make more of their money now from the live performances?
They always did.
And they're a little bit more business savvy nowadays.
Yeah, well, that's come. I mean, at 10 or 11 years old, you're going to know about how the business works. You can read it in magazines and, teen magazines.
Well, plus all the mistakes have been made.
All the mistakes have been made. But basically, the business works like it always worked. Musicians are dreamy and make music, and entrepreneurial people come along and make money.
Yeah.
I just want to go back to the 60s now, and I was amazed to find out that you wrote the lyrics for "You Don't Have to Say You Love Me," which is such a massive Dusty Springfield record.
Elvis Presley record too.
And Elvis did it. So you've written the lyrics for Elvis Presley, for an Elvis Presley song.
That's right. And he gave me a gold record. When it was a hit, he presented me with the gold record, and Colonel Parker, his manager, sent me the bill for it.
But how did you actually come to write those lyrics? I mean,
Dusty had been singing at San Remo Festival in Italy, and she came back to San Remo Festival with an acetate. In those days, we didn't have tapes and didn't have cassettes. She came with a little scratchy acetate and gave it to her best friend, Vicky Wickham, who was the producer of Ready, Steady, Go, and also a best friend of mine, and said, I'd like to get English lyrics done for this. Do you know how I do that? And Vicky said, Simon and I will do them. We'd never written lyrics before. So Vicky phoned me up.
So you'd never written any songs or anything?
No. So Vicky called me up and said, we're going to write a lyric for Dusty. And I said, well, that's fine, but I hope it doesn't interfere with our dinner. And so, because we went to dinner every night, and then we went clubbing to the Ad Lib Club.
Yeah.
So we had dinner, and Vicky said, we've got to get this song written. And I said, well, let's just skip the brandy. And we went back to her flat, and she got out this scratchy old acetate, and she put it on, and it ground out this sort of big lovey song. And I said, look, it's Italian and it's a ballad, so you've got to have the word love. And Vicky said, oh, I can't stand the word love. We can't have that. I said, it's got to say you love me, or you love me. She said, no, you don't love me. And I said, well, you can't put you don't love me. So I said, well, you don't have to love me. But that didn't fit. So I said, well, you don't have to say you. Oh, that fits. Great. Off to the Ad Lib Club.
Yeah.
That was it.
And then there was, it's a classic record. It's got that great big orchestration at the beginning.
I didn't do
that. No, but how did you feel? If I'd have done something like that, and I suddenly heard, I remember the first time I went into a studio and there was an orchestra playing a song I'd written, or the arrangement of a song I'd written, and I was like, I couldn't believe it. She was going up my spine. You must have that beginning of that record is so amazing. How did you feel?
We had heard it. After all, look, we got the record in Italian, so there was the record finished.
And it was similar, like to.
It was identical.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
No, it was finished.
Right.
All we changed was the lyric. It was amazing what Dusty did with it. We wrote that lyric. I mean, when I say we wrote it that quickly, we wrote "You don't have to say you love me" exactly like that. Those words.
Yeah.
Everything else took a little time.
Yeah.
I mean, we had that. The rest was done in the taxi. It took about 30 minutes.
Come on, get up, get out, and start grooving. Jiggling around to the sound of music.
That's the Yardbirds there, and I Wish You Would. One of the many bands that Simon Napier Bell has managed, or the artists, I should say, that he's managed over the years. Simon Napier Bell is my special guest in the studio today, writing a book at the moment. What's the title of the book?
The book's called Tarara Bumdier.
Why?
Because it's a book about the complete history of the music business from 200 years ago, the beginning of copyright, when the courts decided if you wrote something, song or book or anything else, you're the writer's copyright. And you could dispose of it, which meant they could sell it to publishers. So publishers, for £5 or next week's rent or whatever, would get a little bit of paper signed by the songwriter, and the publisher would then own it, print millions of copies if he could make it a hit, and make all the money for himself. So that was the beginning of the music business. Right up to today, all the things which are happening, but it's about the business. It's not about the artists. Don't open it up and say, "Oh, Mark Bolan's not in there," and so. No, in the history of the music business, in overall things, a lot of artists won't really figure. Yeah. But it's anecdotal, it's gossip, it's naughty stories, shady people. It's a fantastic read of how the whole business.
I can't wait for it. I'm really looking forward to it. I've seen some little snippets from you've been teasing us with, and some of the stories you do go into the nitty gritty, and like you say, the underworld of it all.
Yeah, that's what it is. I mean, it hasn't. You were saying before it's changed.
But why Tarara Bumdier?
Well, it was a good song, so it was somewhere near the beginning. So I mean, every chapter is called by the name of a song.
Okay.
And right up front, the music all day is Tarara Boom Die was a good song. And there was an interesting court case about Tarara Boom Die, which features in the first chapter, and so that became the name of the first chapter. So.
Right.
In classic lazy writer style, I call the book by the name of the first chapter.
Yeah, well, it sticks anyway. That's the main thing.
And it is. It's if you think about it, the music business is the ultimate Tarara Boom Die business. About as far from good, solid business.
Yeah, the Scissor Sisters. They had an album called Da Da, and that's what it's all about. Is it? Da.
Yeah.
Now, how do you actually go about writing a book? I mean,
first you put it off. Now, first you have to get the idea.
I mean, you've got to have some time on your hands to start off with, haven't you?
Well, I've got to tell you, things have changed. I'm publishing this book through pledges. Now, I've had 3 best-selling books about the music business, but I had the idea of this book, and I thought I won't go and get a deal for it with my publisher until I've got it started. And I sat for 2 years. I had to research. It's huge research. I mean, I read over 700 books. And you take snippets from each one and put them down and then start formulating them into a pattern and make a story, and it's a lot of work. But I spent 2 years researching it and doing the outline writing, and then I went off to my agent and he said, while you've been doing that, the book publishing business has collapsed. There's no market left for these sort of books. You either write best-selling novels or your autobiography if you're a football player, or there's not, just like the music business. There's only hit singles now, nothing else. So I eventually was guided to a publisher who publishes in a new way, which is they get pledges, which means people buy the book in advance. So 1,000 people buy the book in advance. That covers all the costs of printing, producing, legal, and creating a really good hardback copy, or you can buy a digital copy. And then the book comes out with a pre-sold market, pre-publicity, and the author gets a decent percentage, 50-50 with the company, instead of the miserable 10% you normally get from a publisher, who then deducts all sorts of costs he doesn't reveal.
And are you disciplined?
No.
Because that's it.
I'm good at getting up 6. I'm very good at getting up 6, but I'm very good also at walking to the fridge every 5 minutes to see if there's anything interesting in it. Having a little bit more to eat, just reading the paper one more time. The getting up bit's all right, but the actual doing the work can be hard.
Yeah. So now, I mean, are you ever going to retire?
No. I told everybody from when I was about I was very successful young. I was first went in the film business. I bought that big Thunderbird I told you about. Went in the music business. And was very successful in the 60s. And I told everybody I'm going to retire at 30. Sort of a show-off thing. And I thought I wanted to. And I built a big house in Spain. I mean, a real great big house with swimming pools and courtyards. And I told everybody I'm going to retire at 30. And when my 30th birthday came, I didn't want to. I was having a whale of a time in England, at the top of the tree. But I told so many people, they kept saying, I thought you were going to retire at 30. So just before my 31st birthday, I sold up and left England, became a foreign resident, went to live in my house in Spain. So I retired at 30. It took me 2 weeks to realise it was the stupidest thing I'd done. I was bored to tears. I didn't want to be there.
What's the point of getting up?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I put the house on the market, got on the train, because I thought I'd be nice, I'd come back by train. And when I got to the Gare du Nord in Paris, I called my accountant. I said, I'm coming back to England. And he said, don't, you can't. I said, why not? And he said, because all the money you've earned and all the money we've put out of the country, the day you step into England, that's going to get taxed at 84%. 84%, the whole lot. Because that's what the tax rate was then, on above 20,000 a year. So he said, do it, just go and spend it. You might as well spend 84% of it as come back to England. Yeah. Just don't get on that train. Yeah. So I went and stayed the night in the Georges V Hotel and had a nice meal and a bottle of wine. I woke up the next morning. It was a beautiful spring day. The sun was out. Birds were singing. So I thought, OK, I'll just go on a big world holiday. So I went around the world for 2 years and again got bored. So by the time I got to Australia, I went to Indonesia, I told you about before the programme. Yes. Ended up spending a year there. Got to Australia, produced records, and spent 3 or 4 years away from England and really never went back. I mean, after that, I lived in Paris. I went to England 3 days a week. So I never really went back to live in England full-time again since then. Although I have worked in England pretty solidly by living in France or in Spain and travelling all the time. So that's what happened. I retired at 30 and never again, thanks.
Well, you're one of the great characters in the music business, and I'm sure this book is going to be absolutely fantastic. I can't wait to read it. And thanks for coming in and talking to us. We could be going on all day, but we've only got like a limited amount of time.
Well, thank you, Barry. I've enjoyed it.
You're fantastic. We'll see you again.
Okay.
Thanks very much. Simon Napier Bell. Yes.